Okay, so I'm so excited to be sitting down with you, my mom, Nina Michelle Tui. Yeah, introduce yourself to us, maybe, Mom. Tell us, you are, in my mind, one of the best family grief experts because you've been doing this for so many years, and I've learned so much. I think it's been such a pleasure to learn and grow under you. Obviously, as a child growing up, you have to also take your own journey of maturity and working through your stuff, which we're going to explain. But tell us how you got here and maybe a little bit about your story.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Eden, for having me chat with you today. It's very exciting. Okay, so we are 31 years married.
You and Dad?
Yes. Married to one man for 31 years. And, when we first got married, I entered our marriage very traumatized. I really had no idea of how marriage should pan out. Even though Dad had read quite a few books, I found that I was constantly reacting in our relationship. And so...
By reacting, you mean how?
Well, when you enter a relationship, unconsciously, you come into the marriage according to Dr. Harville Hendricks, and he's written, I see you've got the book there, Getting the Love You Want. You come into marriage with what we call an imago imprint. And so that imago, which is actually image, is an image you have of your caretakers growing up, good and bad. So it's imprinted in your brain, and we look for, according to Dr. Hendricks, we look for someone that will cause us to become fully alive, and we look for someone who will help us grow our lost part.
So just to clarify, this imprint is actually what you perceive love to be.
Absolutely. So it's an image of what you perceive love to be, and of course then you attract to this person, and it's actually a conspiracy of the brain.
Okay, so your brain is tricking you.
Your brain tricks you, because I believe if we really knew who we were getting married to, often we wouldn't get married. But if we don't get into that relationship, we'll never find healing. And perhaps we can talk about the healing in a later segment. So yes, there were lots of struggles, and of course in a marriage or in a relationship, we start off in what we call the romantic phase. So we are so in love and we can't get enough of each other. I remember when we were courting, we would talk for hours, and we just couldn't get enough of each other.
Yeah.
But however, after that romantic stage, most couples, or all couples, move into the next stage, which is what we call the power struggle.
Yeah.
And it's in the power struggle that we start triggering each other.
So before we even move on to the power struggle, because for me that's of great interest, let's talk about the imprint of love. I know with myself, and I've been working through stuff by myself and with other people that I find myself accountable to, and then also with you, I had an imprint of what I feel love is, and a lot of the time it's unnecessary expectation, because you build this imprint without another person in front of you or in your view, and so you can have a lot of misaligned almost expectations of someone else, maybe unrealistic expectations. And so I think you had also mentioned to me that a lot of the time in your early years of marriage, you'd find yourself being very angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think yes, you have an understanding. There is a measure of what the imprint is without a partner.
Right.
But it actually comes into play when you have a partner, because what happens is we're in a conflict situation as we enter the power struggle. Because remember, the first stage of our relationship is we say, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
But then when we commit it to each other, all of a sudden we move to the next stage,
give me.
and it's what can you do for me?
Yeah.
And it's in that stage that we start what we term rubbing each other up the wrong way. And guess what? We start using old coping mechanisms to hurt each other or to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So we find often the coping mechanisms are we become maximizers or minimizers.
So just to explain to people
according to the way we cope.
So I mean, I'm super thankful that I generally grew up in a really stable home with both you and Dad giving us so many tools to work through things and have like really good family dialogue. But because I grew up in a safe home where I could fully express myself, I was also fully able to just express emotion without like there was so much discipline, but I was free to express my emotion. And so I'm very much a maximizer of absolute note.
Absolutely.
And coming into my relationship, if there's anything that I've had to learn over the last few months, like a year or so, and even just being in business together, is that like I have to minimize,
must retract. Yes.
It's not minimizing or putting myself down. It's Eden is not less, but I have
to allow your partner to rise up. So there's healing for Eden when she just tones down a bit, and there's healing for a partner when he rises up and he takes his place. Not easy, because our brain, our reptilian brain, wants to protect us, because we feel like we're dying. We are dying in this relationship when we can't have our say. But that is just the lower brain speaking. So in Imago and the therapy that I do.
Let's not even go onto Imago yet, because that's a whole other thing. Let's talk about the reptilian brain now. I read an amazing book. I think it's somewhere. Where is it? And it's by a brain surgeon who speaks about how she brought herself and her brain back after losing all motor skills, etc. And she talks about the brain and the reptilian brain. And I used to laugh at you. In the beginning, because you get it like these catchphrases and you hang on to them for like periods of time. But after I read this book, I totally understood what you were saying.
Yes.
What is the reptilian brain?
Well, it's the lower part of our brain that we call the old brain. Okay, and may say mammals have it, animals have it, and it's at that part of the brain where we have just we don't know exactly, but there's a sense of fear, or if there's something that's going to attack us, it's there that we have that sense. And also past experiences are triggered in that part of the brain. And then of course the limbic system, which is just above that, is where the fight, flight and freeze is. But we can talk about that next week, because we can focus more on the brain.
Yes, we did say we would focus more on the brain. From what I understood, it was that up until you're 2, whatever home system you're growing up in, there's a lot of imprinting that happens on the child's mind, and you learn actually how to respond to things. So you actually don't change the way you respond to, if there's a lot of trauma, you're still going to respond in the same way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But anyway, that's another conversation.
Yes, and we always say, things are not left in the past, until it's dealt with. It's always in the present. So in a relationship, like I said, we move to the power struggle, and that is where we get stuck. And that's why we need to, and we call it, we do relationship unconsciously. You know, we react or we use all our defense mechanisms that we learned as children. Now we bring it into our relationship. And that's what I had to learn. So in our 31 years of marriage, and I don't believe we've arrived. We haven't arrived as a couple. We are still learning to do marriage consciously.
Yeah.
We intentionally try pushing through that power struggle to the point where we can become fully alive.
You have to be conscious of your and healing is a conscious effort for you.
It's a conscious
so that you can
effort.
move consciously with your partner, if I'm correct.
And also grateful for my partner, my husband, who's willing to practice, because old habits die hard, and so we have to practice how to talk, how to be in each other's space, how to listen with intentionality, how to be empathetic, how to validate each other. So yeah.
Okay, so we're going to expand on quite a lot, but just lastly, what can you just explain a little bit more about Imago and why you feel that this whole teaching is so revolutionary?
I love Imago because firstly, Imago deals with the space between the couple. And often when we meet each other as a couple, we are unconscious of what we bring into the relationship. And I love Imago because it highlights what we brought in from the past. It highlights the imprints of our caretakers for both partners, and it highlights that and makes the couple realize that, gives them tools that they don't have to react the way their parents reacted, because we actually bring that into the relationship. So after, and I love, the one thing I love is that there's healing, and the couple gives each other healing. Because like I think I said earlier on, we are wounded in relationships, we are born in relationships, and we are healed in relationships.
Okay, that's quite a big statement, because in a lot of the world today, a lot of the stuff that's floating around as well, everything I need is in myself, and I can heal myself, and you have it in you, and self-care and self-love, and you're the only one you need. No.
I think there is a measure of that. We need to have compassion on for ourselves. There's in our faith we know that you can't love others unless you love yourself. However, we are definitely created. Our brains have been created for connection, and trauma and woundedness in relationships needs a relationship to heal it. So Imago is powerful in that we deal with past pain. We take tools on how to practice, how to train our brain to move into conscious marriage. And then of course, thirdly, we heal each other. It's just amazing. I love it.
I love you. Thank you for this chat.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you guys are wondering about Harville Hendrix that Mum keeps on talking about, she's been telling me about this book forever. By miraculous chance, literally we stopped at the bookshop up the road and I found a beautiful copy secondhand for 70 Rand.
Wow.
It's called Getting the Love You Want, a guide for couples. But if you're not in a couple, there's also one for singles,
right.
which I think everyone should read anyway. And there's also Receiving the Love and Keeping the Love You Find.
That's right.
So
Very good.
Sometimes we don't know how to receive love, and we sabotage ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so this book is a wonderful handbook that I give to my couples, or I suggest that my couples buy, that I walk with.
Awesome. Thanks, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.